Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 3rd day of April, 2023. Let me make sure my sound is up. Well, it could go up a little more. Alrighty. Okay, well, I hope you had a good weekend. We had some more snow. I mean, it's gone, but it could snow again today. I don't know. I don't know. At some point, we're supposed to be like 71 or 72, and I don't know when that's going to be because I'm not even convinced that's real. So I just don't think that spring is ever going to come here. I'm being very pessimistic today. But so hopefully I'll be absolutely wrong, and, we'll start to see a change in the weather sometime this week, but I don't know. But if you are like we are, or you have more snow than we do, I feel for you. I really do. I know the passes going to between where we are and the valley here in Oregon. They're pretty bad right now. So, and I guess it's snowing in the Portland area. So there you go. I don't know. Let's take a look at today's rune from the Elder Futhark for the as above side of things. We have Rado. Rado is an interesting rune. It's rider and horse, really. If you think about that, the integration that you have. I mean, essentially it means integration, but it's about rider and horse, where you've got that type of almost intrinsic type of a partnership between you and that other being, where you both know each other so well that just a slight touch can move the horse in one direction or another. It's that level of integration. You can also think of it in terms of soul journey. But rhythm, also, it can mean justice. It can mean process over the goal. You've known people that are very goal oriented, and others that are more process oriented. It doesn't really matter so much, but the pathway along the way is what matters. All that you put into it is what really matters to you. Then of course there are the goal oriented people that just they're so focused on that they forget to really appreciate how they got there and all of that. So those are the extremes of it all. But that's the kind of energy you're looking at with Rado. You're looking at several runes. This is a bind rune in and of itself. You're looking at Kenez, forward and reversed, kind of skewed down here at the bottom, but you see the greater than sign in there. You see the P. That's Vunyo. If you take the bottom part of the P away there, you'll see Laguz, and then the straight line is Isa. So there's a lot of different runes that comprise Rado, and in my view, their energies also comprise Rado. So again, if you're looking at Vunyo, that's fellowship and joy. Well, fellowship with Rado makes sense, doesn't it? That integration, that integrated movement with somebody else. Or if you want to look at it purely as a soul and physical reality thing, it's the integration between the soul and the physical form and the physical life that it's having. The integration between the soul and the ego, if you want to see it that way. Let's take a look at the Geomancy runes then and see the below side of things, the physical side of things. So basically, Rado, then, if you want to think about it, it's we can start with that, either integration with other people or integration between the soul and the physical reality. So here, it looks like we have Albus. Let's see if we can find Albus here in the bowl. There it is. Now, Albus, its complement is rubeus. And yeah, it didn't come from Harry Potter or anything. Geomancy is a lot older than that. But rubeus and albus are the both sides of the same coin of this particular geomantic energy here. Albus would be the sage. It would be wisdom. Be someone with white hair, clarity. And so then its complement rubeus would be the misuse of force, total ego. So definitely, higher self and ego. But here, fortunately, it's higher self. So again, if we want to think about we can start this out thinking about the integration, either bringing higher awareness into your decisions and your perceptions. Maybe we could look at it that way, the integration between soul and ego, or soul and the personality, if you don't want to look at it as ego, although technically it probably is. But you can kind of soften it a little bit and just say personality. But let's see, it could have a more specific, that's kind of nebulous in a way, isn't it? Keeping it that general, but again, bringing higher awareness into your decisions. It could be that there's something that could happen here today or over the next couple of days where you may become very reactive, and if you're doing that, then you kind of close off to seeing things from the broadest perspective possible. And anytime you look at things from a higher awareness standpoint, you've got to be able to get out of the reactive ego, right? And to be able to see things from all sides of the equation. You can react to something, but then when you know the rest of the story, maybe you're like, oh, okay, I'm still not happy, but I get why this happened, or something like that. Or I still have concerns, but it's, in other words, it's not you're not at the freak out stage. So, but again, I don't know yet, because we need to look at the cards. So I've already done some shuffling before I got started. I have a little ritual I do before I get started with the reading, and so I do that every morning. Well, on the mornings I do the readings, not every morning. Let's see. We have one from each grouping. We have one from the Eight of Cups from the Minor Arcana. We have the Empress from the Major Arcana, and we have the Knight of Wands from the Court. Although technically the Court is part of the Minor Arcana. It's just this outlier. I don't know. Almost like it's the personification throughout those stages of life, that the cards Ace through 10 talk about. Maybe, I don't know. You can look at it that way, I suppose. But let's see what we have here as far as, let me get all this stuff out of the way. I don't know why I have all this crap on my table, but I do. Anyway, let's take a look at the Eight of, and then we'll see if we want to put them in different order. But right now we'll keep them in the order that I drew them. Here we have the Eight of Cups. Cups is the emotions. It's the water element. It can be about movement. I mean, you can kind of tell that water moves, and so it's a lot of big changes with water. Water can create all kinds of problems. We have flood irrigation for our property, and so you can make water do all kinds of things that you want it to do, which is kind of fun. And sometimes not so much, especially if your neighbors are flooding you out and now you have water underneath your house. That's always fun too. That used to happen to us when we first moved here. Not anymore though. But here we have the eight is a number of strength. In fact, it's the number in the Major Arcana for the card strength. And it's about material recognition and approval. Perhaps he's had enough of that and he's decided to go his own way here. But here you see the 8 cups standing upright, 3 on top of the other 5. And you have like one that's missing here. See, he's not, if there were 9, then 9 is a number of endings and completion, among other things, spirituality, generosity, all of that. But the idea, especially in magic, you're looking at the idea of endings and completion. And so in a way, he's the 9th cup in a way, that's missing right here. You could look at him that way, where he's not quite finished yet. He's got other things he wants to do. But here he's leaving behind the emotions that no longer serve him or that have served him well enough. But he's leaving them behind and he's taking with him what he needs to press on. And you can see over here, he's clearly going up a hill of sorts, a small hill. But you can see the rocks that are here, the big boulders and stuff that are kind of in his way. At least that's the direction he seems to be going. So, he knows that the choice that he's making could be difficult. There could be challenges, but he's fine with that. He's got all of this in a way. He's got all of this, all of the water element within him reorganized and structured in such a way that he can then take what he's learned and move on. Uh, this is kind of the crone phase of the moon here, in a sense. You look at the if you look at it in terms of maiden, mother, crone, the sliver would be the crone side of that triplicity. So you're looking maybe even at an older individual here who's really, especially from the standpoint of the numerology of 8 and material recognition and approval, maybe he's leaving behind the need for that, and he's setting off on his own direction. Maybe he worked for somebody and now he's ready to go off and do his own thing, or he's retiring and he's letting go of that need for material recognition and approval. Approval would be an emotional kind of a thing, wouldn't it? And so that would definitely align with the suit of cups and the water element. But there's just a feeling of I'm done with all of that and I'm moving on to something else. And again, with Rado and Albus, if you look at those two runes in conjunction with this could be something, the integration between it in his own, with his own soul and his own ego here, not needing the approval of other people anymore. In other words, he can leave all of that stuff behind him, and he's more integrated within himself. It's a process, we live this, we grow up this way. We go, if your children go to public school or any type of school, you learn that as a child that you have to do certain things in order to get the A's and the B's and whatnot. And if you lived in my home, you had to get the A's. So that's how I grew up. And so you learn that seeking the approval of other people very early in life. And at some point, you have to let that go. You have to be secure enough within yourself that you can take that journey on your own. And I just see the 8 of cups as integrating really that sort of level of soul energy that Rado gives, and also with the wisdom found in Albus. So if there was one card here in the reading, I think that really embodies both of these runes, I think we started out with the 8. Moving on to the 3 here, let's see, 8 and 3 are 11, and so the numerology so far between these two cards is going to be a master number of awakening and illumination. So and realistically, isn't that what he did? He awakened to the truth of himself, and he knows that he doesn't need the approval of others to carry on. But here we have the Empress, card 3 of the major arcana. Move these things out of the way. This is the mother aspect in the major arcana. She's the goddess. You see her crowns. Technically, if you look at this very bottom row, you're looking at a triplicity here in the crowns, 3 different levels, if you want to look at it that way. She's pregnant here, although this card doesn't show it as well as some cards do. You see all the greenery and abundance around her. She's fertility. She embodies fertility. She embodies childbirth, and the continuation on of humanity. Basically, if you look at the Fool and the Magician and the High Priestess, the Fool takes the leap into form, and the Magician and the High Priestess create that form, the entire components, the entire vessel, if you will, both for the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and the physical reality versus the soul reality. And then from there, the Empress gives birth to creation. You see her shield right here, which is in the shape of a heart, and Venus, the glyph for Venus in the center of it. That's love and beauty. So she's very concerned with abundance. You see the grain here and the grass that's growing. And she's the receptive presence. She's also very successful. And she just sits there on her I don't know if you want to call that it's more like I guess it could be her throne. It's an interesting looking throne though, don't you think? With her scepter in her hand, and her left hand, and her right hand, and her left hand rests comfortably on her knee. So what is he going to give birth to? What, now that he's let go of the need to please other people, he's let go of all of that, the emotional attachment to that process, and now he's decided, what, I can make my own way. I don't need the approval of others. What am I going to create? It promises, when you do that, when you let go of the ego, it's promising with the Empress that all of creation opens up for you. You can pretty much do anything that you want to do. I mean, within whatever bounds there are on you, of course. But at the end of the day, that's what can happen here. And again, I don't know. I mean, the integration with other people, if you want to think about it that way, there could be people that you choose to integrate, but on a much higher level. Instead of the approval type of an integration, it's more of a approaching things together in a synchronistic way. Maybe that might be the better way of looking at the integration here with Rado. But what you're able to do when you let go of the burden of needing approval from other people, all of a sudden, all the, oh, well, I can't because of this, kind of goes away. And now the door opens to new opportunity. And what can you birth? What can you bring to fruition? What can you start? I think that's really where this is going here. And then you go to the Knight of Wands. It's almost like you go back on a new quest. It's like when someone retires and then they start a new business, or they have some kind of hobby that they turn into something lucrative. They take a new direction in life, and it's exciting for them. And in a way, they go on their own quest. With the Knight of Wands here, it's spiritual in nature. You can tell that because of the 3 pyramids. He's in the Holy Land. And you see with the wands there, you see the little Ouroboros on his cloak over his armor. The salamander is trying to reach its tail, basically there. The salamander is a little elemental for the element of fire. But you see his steed is rearing up, and he's got in the I don't know if it's a club or a staff because you can't see it come down underneath the horse, but we'll just say that it's a staff. You see new growth on the staff, and so new opportunities with that new spirituality, that new type of passion that you have. So maybe something that you've always had a passion for is able to give birth to it after you let go of the need for approval from other people. Suddenly the doors open, and you are literally on a quest for new experiences, a quest for new opportunities, to advance your own passions, to take off on your own adventure. Normally, you look at this as a youthful energy, older than the page, but still youthful. So he'd be a young man. He's action oriented. He's protective. He's willing to take a risk. And here's the thing. That might be the key word right here. Willing to take the risk. Risk might be the key word, where he's willing to take the risk, irrespective of the challenges, to let go of any need for anyone else's approval, and he's going to set off on his own way, his own path. He's willing to take that risk and to set off on the quest that he needs to set off on. And again, I don't know that integration with others is a factor, but it could be. But clearly, if it is, it's got to be on some kind of higher level. So if this involves other people for you, then you have to be on that even keel with them. There can't be anybody else that decides your course for you. Either it's going to be a joint endeavor or it's not. And if it's not, then that's fine too. This is just you setting off on your own new adventure, your own new path, taking that risk to let opportunities open up for you, and to be willing to take them, and to not do it because you need the approval of somebody else. The ball is in your court, in other words, at this point. It's not in somebody else's who's going to decide what your fate is going to be. With the 8, you're deciding that for yourself. When you let go of the need for approval from other people, you're setting your own course. And so for today, I think that if that's what this is about for you, then be willing to do that. Recognize that there may have been a time in your life when you did need the approval of higher ups, basically, so that you could advance in your career. But at some point, it's not uncommon for people to just take a hard look at what they've been doing and say, I don't like this. I want to be my own boss. I want to set my own course. I want to do my own thing. And realizing, of course, if it is about a new business you want to start, there's always going to be constraints on you when you do that. Constraints based on the government and the legalities of what you want to do vis-a-vis where you are, the city you're in, the state you're in, and any federal kinds of stuff you have to meet in order to do what you want to do. So there could be things like that, obviously, but that's a different kind of approval, realistically. The only approval you probably need is from your customers if you're opening some kind of a business where you're dealing, specifically with customers. Then sure, there's going to be that type of approval you're going to need. But to start it, to do it, to make it your own, no, that's really on your shoulders. And so if that's something you've been thinking about, this is what it might look like for you if you were to do it. You're letting go of the need to have somebody give you permission to do something or the approval to do something. It's like, I'm in my own space now. I'm going to do what I want, and again, it could be something where you've had a passion all your life to do thus or so. Maybe you've always wanted to be a beekeeper, and so you decide to do that, and it's expensive. Trust me, I was a beekeeper, to get started and to still maintain, especially if you have to buy bees every year. But the whole point is you might make that decision, and then if you're successful at it, then you might be able to sell honey, and that's a fun thing to do, either at those Saturday markets, or maybe you can, if you have a big enough bee farm, then you can sell it to the different feed stores in your area or what have you, right? Or maybe the health food stores, that are in the area. The herb stores that are in the area might be willing to take it. Or you could maybe open an online business and do it that way. There's lots of ways you can look at this. I just use that because I used to be a beekeeper. But the point is that maybe you've been a painter, maybe you've dabbled all of your life, and now you want to get serious about it, and you just want to sit down and do. Maybe you're creative that way in the art side of things, and you just want to take it to a different place than just things you were doing for yourself or maybe for your family or what have you. So again, it's having that inner desire to let go of the need for approval and watch the doors open when you do that. In other words, the ball is in your court. So if you've been thinking about that for a while, maybe today's the day you get serious about it and really start visualizing what it is you want. Maybe you're not ready to take this step, but at least you get into your mind that if I do this, it might be a little scary. There might be some challenges, but you get to decide how you deal with all of it. You're not dependent upon an employer or something like that to define for you where you can go, right? The journey is yours. It's all up to you. So that's kind of cool. Using your own inner wisdom with Albus to send you in the direction that you need to go, and taking that risk. It may seem weird to do it, especially if you're older, but what I did when I retired, I started writing. I started writing initially about my experience of healing with cannabis, my rheumatoid arthritis. I had a very severe case of it. I could never get out of this severe range. And finally, I just resigned myself to whatever fate I had. And I'm like, why am I doing that? And so I became a cannabis patient, and after growing that summer and making medicines in the fall to early winter, I decided on the treatment regimen I was going to employ. And I did it, and 2.5 months later I was in remission. So it opened up a whole new life for me, because I didn't think I was going to have one, right? And or it would be severely limited, until, whatever. And so I started writing, and I'm have not published this last one yet, but it's my 10th book. And I do this, which I never would in a million years have ever believed I could have done. But I've been doing it now since, geez, when did I start this? 2015? Lord, if I started this in 2015, I'll have to go back and look. But if that's when I did that, this is my 8th year. And I don't know, I'm not saying it's lucrative or anything, because it's not. But the point is, I'm doing what I want to do and what I like to do. And it's opened things for me on a personal level that's challenged me in ways that I have really no real guidance for, other than my own higher awareness and what feels right to me, And so no matter what something like that looks like for somebody, whether it's lucrative for you or it isn't, the bottom line is, if you're living your passion, you're letting go of the need for approval from other people, and you're just doing it. I went back and I've had herbal training, sporadic. Most herbalists are self-trained. You look at the books people have written, and then you go out there and you become one with the plants, basically, and you figure it out, right? Well, I went ahead and I did a training course, and just to refresh and to be sure of some things that I might have missed along the way. And realistically, there wasn't that much that I learned specifically, but I found there were some things in terms of formulating and all of that I learned, and how to put some of the tinctures together in a way that probably makes a little more sense than what I was doing. But it's not that what I was doing was wrong. It's just that maybe I had too many things in there or whatever. But the bottom line was, and then since that time, I've also taken more coursework and everything. But I wanted to do that as well, and to understand more how to really take care of myself and my husband in our golden years and all of that. Because sometimes they're not so golden when you get older, you have health issues. And so you try to keep yourself on an even keel and all that. Of course, during a pandemic, that's real challenging, right? But these are the things that you can do, passions that you've had, things that you've always wanted to focus on, but you couldn't because you had to have a job, you had to put food on the table and all of that. And so when things get to a certain point where maybe the finances of it aren't as important, or maybe you really see an opportunity to open a business where it's going to really ensure your security, your financial security. On either end of the spectrum, you see, it can be a really positive thing in your life. And so, I don't know. I think that's what this reading is suggesting, that letting go of the need for other people's approval, if that's kind of been a driving force in your life, or a constant companion, maybe it's time to let go of that and see where that takes you, and see what kind of opportunities that come up for you, that new experiences that you can have, where you're not weighted down by the approval of other people. So even if it's something as simple as that, and it's not taking you in a specific direction, to not have to have that anymore is incredibly freeing. So even if it just comes down to that for you today, then I encourage you to meditate on this and think about it, and think about what it would be like to not, always be looking over your shoulder at what somebody else thinks, or worrying about what other people think about what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, they're not in charge of you. You are. And how much of yourself you give away to others can really stifle your creativity and things that you might be willing to do that otherwise you're not, because you're so afraid that someone so-and-so is going to say something bad about it, And we all go there, It's not like nobody has ever experienced that. It's just that for some people, they live there, and they're missing out on things that they don't need to miss out on. So anyhow, that's it for today. Interesting way to start a Monday. Nothing too controversial. Well, unless, of course, you're really beholden to other people, then I guess it probably is. It's like, oh no, I can't do that. Well, sure you can. Be the knight. You could do anything. Anyway, that's it. I guess that's it. That's all we'll talk about today. We'll see on Thursday when we come back for another As Above, So Below reading. We'll see if there's any extension where maybe it talks about things you can be doing. Who knows? Or maybe we'll just go on to something else. But lately we've been the readings have sort of been hooking together, so not so much last week. I mean, maybe a little bit. Thursday was about self-sabotage, and the other one was about on Monday was more about keeping your head out of the not being realistic. So yeah, those probably dovetailed together. So if it does, then it'll be interesting to see on Thursday where the reading that we began today takes us. So anyhow, thanks for watching. Everything's up over at Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. The week ahead is there. The daily correspondences for work and magic are there, and Exploring Tarot for the week is there. I believe it was the Five of Cups. Yeah, I think it was the Five of Cups that I did. I'm already into next week's stuff, and so my head's there. I just sort of put that stuff out of my mind when I start working on this during this week for next week. So that's where my head is right now. But I think that. It also went up on Substack and Patreon and Medium. Stuff went up over there too, so you can check it out over there if you want to read that, if you like those places. And I guess that's it. So if it's snowing in your area, I feel for you. If you've got really nice weather, I don't want to know about it. I really don't. Because it was like in the 30s yesterday, and it was ridiculous. So anyway, I don't know. It probably got a little warmer than that, but in the beginning it wasn't. It was really cold, and it was Saturday too. So, and it's April, but we're 3,000 feet above sea level, so you never know around here what's going to happen. So anyway. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Take care of yourself, take care of one another, and blessed be.